Now then, everybody, and welcome to the Wedding Mavericks podcast with just me this week, Jules, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers where we discuss all aspects of running a business, developing technical knowledge and skills, and pushing your creativity. It is just me this week doing this episode because, we're always talking about how we're juggling stuff and it's the school holidays again. So this week the kids have been off school, but also it's kind of coincided with this really busy week. So I've had like client calls and meetings. I did a live stream job for a graduation ceremony yesterday. I had a meeting for a commercial job, quite a big commercial job this morning. And then tonight, after I've recorded this, we're setting off to do a stretch of 4 weddings on the bounce over the Jubilee weekend. So it depends where you're listening. If you're in the UK, you'll probably know what the Jubilee weekend is. But basically, the Queen has been in power for a certain amount of time, and it's turned into this huge bank holiday event, which is the equivalent of like a Christmas holiday or an Easter holiday, or if you're in America, like a Thanksgiving or an Independence Day or something. But it's a one-off event. So yeah, it's a bit of a mad week, and it's going to be a bit of a mad weekend. We're driving all over the place, and actually that is the subject, if you like, of next week's episode. What we're going to try and do for next week is we're going to record a bit of a like behind the scenes of doing these 4 weddings in a row on the bounce. They're all over kind of the north of England, different areas of the north of England. So we're going to be driving hours and hours and hours up and down and around the country, which in the UK is a big deal. In other parts of the world, it'd probably be fairly standard driving that far, but we're not as used to it. So I just wanted to kind of do a quick episode, and it will be quite a short one because I've got a call with a client in 15 minutes. So I just wanted to do a short episode where I kind of talked about the equipment that we use for doing wedding photography and videography. So I am just going to kind of go off the cuff, and I'm going to basically show you and talk through exactly what we use, maybe a little bit about why we use it, but I'm not going to go into realms of detail. If you've got any questions about anything, you can drop us a message, DM, whatever. But basically, I wanted to talk through the actual equipment that we use, just so that you can see how we managed to do both photo and video together, what equipment we're using. There's obviously 2 of us, so we're not a solo shooter, and then we're using a second shooter who's got their own equipment. We have to have, I have to prepare all this equipment for us both to use. And that's kind of why I'm doing this as well, because I'm actually just packing all the bags. So I thought, that'll coincide nicely with an episode about the equipment that we're going to use. So let's start with, and what I'll just say before we start is the equipment that we use now is the equipment that we're using now. But obviously we've done this for 5 years. The equipment has changed over time. The reason I think it's quite good for people to hear what we're using is because if you are just starting out, or you haven't been doing this as long, or maybe you just do one or the other, photo or video, we've tried different equipment, and we've tried different ways of doing this and different ways of packing bags and things like that. So we've got to quite a sweet spot, a happy place, if you like. I wouldn't say it's 100% perfect. There's always something that you could change and tweak, but I'm pretty happy with what we've got set up this year. Yes, I could do with one more camera that is exactly the same as the ones I'll show you in a second, but we can manage. So, it's all about bits of compromise, I guess. And when you're doing photo and video, it will be slightly different to if you're just doing video. So I'm not going to go into the realms of like post-production and editing and software and computers and things like that, we use Macs. I won't go into that in this episode. But I'm just going to go into like the stuff we use and take for a wedding day, the bags, the equipment. So here we go. Now, I think that I would describe our approach as minimalistic, but maybe when I start showing you all this equipment, you'll think that's not very minimal. Now, yeah, if we were just doing one or the other, if we're just doing photo, just doing video, literally wouldn't need much at all. Because we're doing photo and video, and because we also do some commercial work and I do live streaming sometimes, I've got a lot of equipment, and I'd rather have everything with us, especially because some of the jobs we're doing over the next few days are just video and some are photo and video. I need to take everything with us, and I want to be able to do whatever's required. I want the equipment to do whatever's required. So I'll start with this bag. This is a Tenber Messenger DNA 15 DSLR bag. It's like a satchel messenger style bag. I bought this when we first started out. I've been using this for 5 years. This bag is still in good condition to say it's 5 years old. What I love about this bag, it might not be the most stylish in the world. I like the Peak Design stuff myself. And I think some other stuff's come on the market since I bought this. But what I love about this is it's got so much space, but actually it's not a very big bag. So I can carry everything I need pretty much for a wedding day in this bag. Now, yeah, there's certain times where I'm going to need other stuff, but I could technically get away with just bringing this if I went total minimalistic. There are some times where I might want another piece of equipment. I can't get, gimbals in here, and I can't get all my light stands and everything in here. But other than carrying some light stands, and maybe when it gets to light, if we have to light the dance floor, either with LEDs or flash, I can get everything in here. So I'll show you what will be in here, what I'm going to put in here now. It's got 3 big pockets. You can divide those up. Got a laptop pocket at the back, a little tablet pocket there. You've got some pockets on the sides, pockets in here, a zip one here, some little pockets on the side, a big zip one on the back, some zips on the front here, but I have broke those. And basically I'll have all my camera and audio equipment, and if I'm doing photo, I'll usually have a speed light in there as well that I can just bob on the camera should I need. I also have straps and batteries, memory cards, everything like that. So what will go in there is camera number 1. Now, I haven't actually got the lenses on the right camera. I'll have to do that later. Camera number 1 is a Sony A1. This camera we bought last year. Before that, we'd had A9s, we'd had A7 IIIs, and some other cameras. And I bought this A1. Bought it just after it came out. Bit of an extravagant purchase, I won't lie. But what I'll say is this camera is amazing. Like, I love it. And for doing photo and video, it is almost a perfect camera. There have been a couple of times where there's been some overheating issues, but generally it performs amazingly. So I love this. I won't go into all the specs and why and blah, blah, blah. That's another video. But yeah, this is the main thing. In here, I'm going to have my 2 memory cards. I use Integral Ultima V60 cards, 256 gigabytes. They're about 75 quid each. There's 2 of those in there and a battery, obviously. So that's camera number 1. Now, I also use these Peak Design straps. So everything has got these Peak Design quick release clips on, and they just clip into the straps. And also on the bottom of every camera there is a Manfrotto 501 style plate. This isn't a Manfrotto plate, it's a small rig one, and it actually will go on the Ronin S. And they're basically there's that type of plate on all of the cameras because that's the tripod plate, that's the tripod head that we use. So basically each camera can just go on a tripod with the same heads, and it can also clip into the strap. And most of the time I'm going handheld. I'm just going to have this strap around my shoulder, and I'm going to be carrying the cameras like that, whether I'm doing photo or video. That I do it exactly the same way. And then if we need to put them on a monopod or on a tripod or a gimbal, I can just slide it straight on because the plates are already on the bottom of those. Obviously the gimbal, you can only use certain plates, so I only use that plate on the A7S III because that's the only one I'm going to use on the gimbal usually. I could technically put that one on. So that's that. So that's, if you like, camera number 1. Camera number 2, and then we've got 3 of these straps as well, so I'll put the strap in the bag. So camera number 2 is the A7 S3. I'll use that for both photo and video. I'll use it as kind of a secondary camera for photo, and it's more or less the main camera for video. And it just sort of depends what we're doing, how I do that. But again, I'll usually carry 2 cameras. Lindsay will have 1 camera, and that's kind of how we approach the wedding day. And then we've got other cameras in the bags should we need extra angles for ceremony speeches, for video and things like that, or an extra camera angle for photo. So again, it's all ready to go with the straps and the plate on the bottom. I'll go for the lenses in a sec. Okay, so third camera's in it, Sony A7 IV, and again, same setup. It's got the same memory cards in, and this has basically got another 501 plate on the bottom. Lindsay usually uses this camera, and then it's a very good hybrid camera for doing photo and video. You've got 30 megapixels, can get the 4K at 50p, 60p, whatever. So that's ideal. But if I was working on my own and I was doing video, let's say, or I was doing photo and video, and I had 3 cameras on me, and I needed to be able to basically carry the 3 cameras around so that I could potentially have 2 angles for ceremony speeches for video, and then a camera, and the photo camera. Let's say the A7 IV, the A7S III as video cameras, 2 angles, and then a photo camera, the Sony A7 I, the A1, sorry. I've got that. So I can fit all 3 of those cameras in the bag. So they're now all in the Timber messenger bag. It's quite heavy, but I'm managing. And there we've got 3 lenses on there. And the 3 lenses that are on there at the moment are the lenses we use the most. So we've got the new Tamron 35-150 that we bought. I've only had that a few weeks, but I've been using it a lot. I'll probably do a proper review on that in the coming weeks. But just for now, yeah, it's sort of a game changer. It's heavy, but it's basically giving me almost all of the range that I need for the whole day, bar a couple of occasions to do photo, or to do photo and video, or just video. So I've got that on one camera, got the Sony 16-35 G Master on the other, nice wide lens for getting those other shots that you can't get with a 35-150. So that's a really good combo. So if I need like some wide shot photos, I can use that. But then I've also got that for video, so like a wide angle for like ceremonies and speeches and stuff like that. And then we've also got the Tamron 28-75 on the A7 IV at the moment. And that is basically Lindsay's favourite go-to focal length. She likes that range. It's nice light lens, so it's not too harsh for carrying around. And she will basically use that, pretty much all day, apart from maybe some dance floor stuff later on, or like some nice portrait stuff. And I'll show you the lenses that we've got as a kind of complement to those in a minute. So just staying on what's going in the messenger bag that I'm going to carry on my sort of person all day. These Sony FZ100 batteries. Altogether we've got 13 of them. That might sound like a lot of batteries for people who, particularly photographers, because they'll probably think, well, I've only got 3 or 4 batteries in total for all my, for everything. We've got 13 because we've got those 3 cameras. So that's batteries for 2 people, if you like. Because we're doing video, we're filming 4K, they do use the batteries they use a lot of power. Those batteries, don't last that long, and I don't really want to be running the batteries down to like 0 all the time, just for practicality reasons, as much as not wanting to affect the batteries, but just being able to change the batteries when they get in low, and that you've got stuff coming up. So we've got 13. So what I do is I put all of those in the front pouch. So there's a zip compartment in here. So I put all those in there, and then I just know I've got them all in the bag and I can grab hold of them. I do have a few these are all official Sony batteries, just because the non-official ones can be a bit temperamental, and you don't really know where you stand with them. But I do have some of the non-official Sony batteries that I keep in another bag that are just sort of spare, if I'm in a pinch type thing. So they've gone in. Then I've got audio that I'm going to use for ceremony speeches, things like that. So in the messenger bag, I've got 5 of the Sony TX650s. I'm going to just put those in one of the little pockets in the side. So they're all there. And I've got a Sony TX800. And this 800 is basically the same as the 650s. It does the same thing. It works very similar way. But it's just a little square. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see. But if you're listening, it's basically, if the Sony TX650s are like long and thin, like a pen, with the clip at the top, these have got they're more like the size and shape of a Rode video, a Rode Go 2, wireless Go 2. They're smaller than that. They're thinner. But they've got a similar kind of clip on the back and square, and they don't transmit, they just record internally like the TX650s do. And the reason I've got one of those is that at the time they were a bit more expensive than the 650s. They were about twice the price. Obviously now everyone's using the 650s or the 660s, so the price has gone up massively for those. So they'll be about the same price now. And if you are looking at something audio-wise, I do think it's worth getting one of these. I'd get another one, to be fair. I might get another one because they're handy, whereas these are good because they can go in the pocket of, like, say, a suit pocket or something like that, and they're really handy. I like these because they go on jackets really well. So for stuff like registrar, say for instance, they just clip on the jacket, and you can do that with anybody, but it just works really well because a lot of the registrars might be female, and the TX650s are just a bit cumbersome unless they're secured in a pocket or on a waistcoat or something. But if you've got like a loose jacket that's not buttoned up, it's better to have one of the square little things. It's just a bit neater and a bit more secure. So they all go in there. There's six audio sources, and in there also there's stuff like little Velcro ties and some of those elastic sleeves for attaching to like microphones and things like that. So we can attach the TX650s and stuff to the microphones if we need. I just keep those in there all the time. There's also some little wind muffs for them, and they're just in there all the time. So the next thing is this Zoom H2N recorder. Now this is basically like a backup audio source. So I put this in the bag as well, and typically, not every single time, but if there's somewhere appropriate to put it, I'll put that out at ceremony or speeches, and we'll basically position it as close to the people that are speaking. So whether it's like speeches, toasts, it's on a top table or something like that, or you might put it near the front of the ceremony. If there's like some flowers or something on a table, you might hide it behind there or something near that. Or sometimes you might put it next to a speaker and adjust the gain so that it's picking up what's coming through the speaker as like an extra audio source. It depends on the circumstances, but it is like sometimes that has been the best audio source because something's not worked out quite how you intended. So it's good to have that backup. Obviously, you're still recording audio in the cameras, but that will most of the time, the Zoom will most of the time sound better than what's coming out of the cameras because it's closer to the source, even if it's not directly on the source or whatever. Just quickly on that, I do have some shotgun type mics, on camera type mics. Now, I won't go into this in this episode because I just want to keep it brief, but I don't tend to use those anymore, not for weddings anyway. I have them in the bags, I take them with me, the secondary bags that I'll show you in a second, but essentially I don't find them very useful. Unless your audio is on the person, it's going to sound a bit shit. And that's why for me, there's something like the TX650s, and I do have other audio recorders that you can use on person, like lavalier mics and stuff, but I think that you're better off just having those TX650s because they're so easy to use, so simple, so quick. And if you start using shotgun mics and things like that, which is basically what, when I started doing this, what was the thing that you did? Like use a Rode video mic on top of your camera. I don't think the audio is any better than what it is out of the camera's mics. It's a touch better in certain situations, but in most situations you're still too far away, and it's picking up too much other noise. The voice isn't clear. You can't isolate the person speaking, so it's a waste of time. Basically, you might as well just record in camera and not bother having the faff of putting that on top. That's my personal view. Everyone's different. I'm just explaining what we've got and what we do with it. So at that point, we've pretty much covered everything that's going in that bag as a routine type thing. I've also got some some spare SD cards in there. All the cameras have got SD cards on them. So basically, we've got 3 cameras with lenses, we've got the audio equipment, we've got all the batteries, some spare SD cards, some other little bits like the sleeves and things like that, and the straps, and that's it. So I can do photo and video. Obviously, I haven't mentioned tripods and stands and things, but I can do photo and video. That's it. I've got everything I need there. If I was doing photo and video on my own, I could have a front angle, a back angle, or 2 camera angles, shooting video for ceremony speeches. For the rest of the day, I could have at least 2 cameras on me, doing photo and video, with 2 different lenses, focal lengths or whatever on. And that's it. That's all basically I need to be able to do it. If me and Lindsay are shooting together, there's 2 of us, all of that won't necessarily be in my bag because she'll have her own satchel. And she will carry around at least 1 camera, maybe an extra lens, some batteries, etc. But whichever way we're doing it, the stuff that I've just gone through is the basic, bare essentials of what we need to shoot photo and video. In certain situations, like we're doing photo and video, not tomorrow, but Friday, and Lindsay will have the Sony A7 IV, and she'll be shooting a mixture of photo and video with that. When it gets to the ceremony, she'll probably put that on the tripod to film video from the back, and then she'll have another camera, which I'll show you in a second, which she will then take photos from the back. And that way we're getting 2 angles of photo and 2 angles of video, because I'll be at the front with one of the cameras, probably the A7S III, on my tripod next to me doing video, and then I'll be switching between photo and video on the other camera to get some close-up shots and some other photos and the general photos that you would get if you were just doing photography. And this is how it works well. And then for the ceremony, for the speeches, it's the same. It's 2 angles for the speeches, a wide and a tight, and then just one or both of us shooting photo. And that's basically as much stuff as we need. Now, obviously, you can't just rely on that. You need backups and you need options, and so I'm going to go through those backups and options there, and I'm also going to go through the additional lighting and audio equipment and other things that you might use. And the reason I've kind of split this up and gone through the essentials and now I'll go through the other stuff is because I wanted to make sure that you can just capture a wedding with that. So you only need 2 cameras if you're doing just photo or just video, and I think you need at least 3 if you're doing photo and video together. But bearing in mind, most people, you would work with someone, so this is our stuff. This is 2 people, 2 photographers / videographers. This is their stuff. So this is 2 people's worth. This is not just mine. So you would probably have 2 cameras, and then your second shooter would have a camera or 2 cameras. So then you'd have the same amount of equipment as what I'm going to be showing you. and you both have your own lighting equipment and both potentially have your own audio equipment and things. So, right, I'll go through this now. So, I've got another couple of bags here. They're both these newer padded, they're like roller bags. Now, they're brilliant because you can pull, they've got wheels on bottom, and you can pull the handle out so you can wheel them like you would with airport suitcases. Got a nice strong carry handle on the top and on the side, but they've also got straps built in, hidden behind like a zip compartment, so you can actually take it off and carry it as a backpack. I've never done that, but I can imagine if you were destination shooting, and these should be okay for carry-on. I have taken them on planes carry-on with no issues, but then again, airlines are always changing the thing, so you've got to be careful. I'm not going to say that 100% you're going to be able to take these on, but you should be able to. They've also got a nice big laptop case at the front and another little compartment at the back, and then loads in here. There's loads of zip compartments up at the top, inside, and then you've got quite a few areas. They're nice and padded, keeps things nice and safe and secure. And the reason I've got two is because I bought one and I was like, this is brilliant. So I got another one, and these two bags and then the satchel is pretty much all you need. I have got another bag I'm going to show you, but the reason it's in there, the stuff that's in there doesn't really need to be in such a big bag by itself, but it's just easier to keep it that way, and I'll show you that in a minute. So in here, what have we got? Right, stand up a bit. So in here, we've got Mavic 2 Pro drone with the controller. I'll just leave the things on. Got a spare battery and some spare propellers. That's in one little compartment that's the size of a camera. I've got other compartments here that I could put one of the cameras from in there if I needed. I've got some stuff like recharge, like battery packs and things like that, and some cables. I've got the shotgun mic, Rode video mic, and the Rode video mini mic with its little kitten dead cat thing, in case I need those things. I've got two more, well, there's more than two lenses. I think there's 3 or 4 lenses in here, but I've got the 1.485G master Sony lens, and I've got the 24mm 1.4 Sony lens G master. So basically, if I decide I want to use primes, rather than using the zooms that we've got, I can do that. I can shoot on those, or if, let's say, it's a particular dark venue, or let's say portraits maybe, but I do just typically use the zooms most of the time. Dance floor when it's a bit darker. I'd love using that 85, but what it is it's trying to just have as minimal equipment to carry around on the day. So if you can do the whole wedding with what's in that bag, that's great. Obviously, if you want to come and change your lenses, you can just leave this stuff in the car and you can come back, and then you're not having to store equipment somewhere in the venue and risk it getting nicked or whatever. So you can just come back to the car, and if you know you're going to be using something in a certain way, you can just switch lenses or whatever. Like the drone, I don't carry the drone around with me all day. I get it out for 5-10 minutes. Once it's done, it goes back in the car, and that's that. And then I've also got 2 more cameras in there. So I've got a Sony A7 III, and that's got the 70-200 f4 lens on it. And that's basically, that used to be like one of his main cams, but it did get dropped, and it doesn't work as well now. Everything works about it, apart from it does this weird sensor thing. It's got internal image stabilization, and the sensor wobbles when you're shooting video on it. It doesn't look very good. So you could use video at a push if you really were desperate, but you would risk having these episodes of wobbling sensor, which don't look cool. I've not found a way to remedy it. Like, even if you turn the stabilization off, it doesn't totally remedy it. So I don't use it for video very often now. I use it just for photos, as that extra angle at the back for Lindsay to use, and having the 70-200 on is the perfect lens to do that, because you can shoot from the back and get nice and close in. So that's kind of like that extra photography camera slash a spare if something happens to one of the others. And then I've also got this A6500. It's one of the first cameras we ever got. It's got a little bit of a cage on it at the moment because I use it for different stuff, like when I'm doing live streaming and things. But it's got an 18-105 lens on. It's an APS-C camera, so it's close. You know, it's not as wide as 18-105. It's closer. Again, they've got the same things on so that we can put the Peak Design straps on, or we can put them on the tripods. And that is a great camera, that 6500. And the only reason I don't try not to use it as much now is just because the color profiles and the codecs on the newer cameras are better, and I prefer them. But in reality, you know, that camera's perfect for a second angle or a third angle or whatever for shooting video. And if you needed to get some photos, you can get some decent photos with it as well. So that's kind of a spare camera now, but we still do use it, especially if like we're shooting photo and video and we feel like we need a fifth angle or whatever. Or sometimes we'll end up shooting 2 weddings in one day. You know, Lindsay will be shooting one and I'll be shooting one, and we need all of the cameras, and including the one I'm filming on, which is a 6300 with a 16mm lens on, so we might need that as well. So yeah, we've got quite a few cameras, but it's just because we've replaced cameras, bought new ones, and just kept the old ones as spares or whatever. So that's pretty much that in that bag. And then we've got some more batteries and some like tools and stuff, screwdrivers, more memory cards and stuff, other little bits. And I usually keep my laptop in that one. So that's that bag. But you see, you could shoot the wedding without these. You only need them really as like backup, extra bits. And that's why I wanted to kind of separate them. And then in this one, this is kind of a support bag, which has basically got some lighting equipment and flashes and stuff like that, transmitters for doing the flash. So there's a couple of these AD200s. I'll usually keep all the flashes, so there'll be like a Godox 860. There'll be one of these Young Nuo LEDs, mag mod stuff, and then your transmitters for your off-camera flash. And there'll be another spare flash in here as well, and like a small little Godox TT350. And I just keep all the lighting stuff in there, because if I'm just shooting video, I don't need to take that bag really. I just take that bag when we're shooting photo, so I know that all the lighting stuff that I might need, and I might not use it at every wedding, but I know that it's all in there, and I can just keep it all in one bag. There's gels and all sorts in there, and there's space to put other things should I run out of space and I need an extra bit of space to put something to take with me to a wedding. So that's basically all that. And then the other thing to show you is this big, huge, massive bag, which is a bit of a pain, and I do need to find a better solution. What I'll say is, I'm not going to get everything out. It's a big bag that's got a big piece of foam in it, and in there are 2 Rotolight EOS LED lights, which are quite big, plus batteries, plus the ball heads for them. And I just don't want them getting damaged. And there isn't, unless you buy an official lighting bag that costs a couple £100, there isn't really a better way of storing them. And so this was just a cheap way of me doing it. And also in there is my DJI Ronin S gimbal. And that's just stored in there so that I don't have to kind of carry it around in that box it comes in and dismantle it all the time and stuff. So it just works out really nice. And it's a massive bag, but it's got room for all batteries that you need for the lights and everything. And it keeps everything nice and padded and safe and not getting damaged. And I'll usually be able to get all of this in the car. Not much else, but I'll be able to get all this in the car. And that is the whole shebang really, bar a couple of tripods. So I've got 2 Manfrotto tripods. I've got a Surui monopod, They've all got the same Manfrotto heads on that fit the 501 plates. Couple of light stands for the Rotolight EOS for kind of constant LED dance floor stuff, if I decide to use LED lights for lighting the dance floor or any creative video work. And then a couple of light stands that are just for the flashes. And basically the AD200s are what I use for off-camera flash. They've got these things on the bottom that you can just slot into the heads that are on the light stands. So it's like quick release, it goes on really quick, and then you're away. That's it. I've got other bits of equipment. I've got too much stuff that I don't use. But that is typically what I would take to weddings if I was doing photo and video. Obviously, if I'm just doing video, I'm not going to take all the flashes and stuff, so that bag stays at home. And it's very rare that this other bag actually comes out of the car or that I use anything from it. Yeah, if I'm going to get some drone shots, I'm going to use it for a few minutes, but that's it. So that is what equipment we use and take with us for a wedding, and that's what we're going to be carrying with us for 4 days. And we've got everything there. And as part of the next podcast, when I'm talking about this, like behind the scenes of doing this 4-day wedding, I'll talk about how we deal with kind of batteries and equipment and things like that. But for now, that's it. I really hope this has kind of been helpful and insightful. Obviously, if you're listening, you can't visually see all this stuff, but hopefully I've described it well enough. If you're watching on YouTube or you want to see what some of this stuff is, if you're not sure, give it a watch on YouTube, because I've done this to the camera. As always, the episode has been sponsored by Divine Studio, so if you're looking for any like website or you're looking for like a rebrand or anything like that, help with your visual presence, your online presence, check them out. Honestly, they're awesome. And if you mention Wedding Mavericks, you get 10% discount on your quote. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got any questions or you want to give me any observations, please drop us a DM on Instagram. That's going to be the best place, at Wedding Mavericks. We're also on Facebook. You can check out the website if you search for weddingmavericks.com, or like I've said, YouTube. So if you're shooting weddings this weekend, or if you're enjoying the Queen's Jubilee, I hope you have a great time. And we'll check you out next week, where we're going to be going through the BTS of this 4-day wedding thing. And I've got to get all of this in the car and get on the road now. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. See ya.